Um, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Captain Mike Scotti, the subject of the film. He'll join us for a Q&A. Along with the filmmaker, Kristian Fraga.
So, do we have any questions?
Thank you. Could you explain the title, Severe Clear?
Sure. Severe Clear is actually an FAA designation. It's infinite visibility. It's a aviation term. And the morning of September 11th was designated severe clear, and it's a rare flying condition. And it actually makes large objects appear closer than they really are. Our goal with this film was, for me as a filmmaker, as much as possible to avoid my political views. This film, I wanted to really be about his experience, but whether we get into it or not, the events of September 11th are what sent Mike and the rest of these Marines onto this journey to the other side of the world. And I thought, with all the different elements to the story, and certainly Beth's story and where Mike came from, that was a focal point of the story. Anybody else? Here in the front.
Why'd you re-enlist?
You mean you're talking about in the beginning when it says I volunteered? So I was originally an enlisted Marine in the reserves. I joined in '95 to '99 while I was an undergrad, and then when I graduated from school, I went to Officer Candidate School and was commissioned as a lieutenant. It was in between Afghanistan and Iraq, and when you're part of a unit and the commanders of the unit ask you, would you please join us for Iraq? You saw the battalion commander in the beginning giving the speech. I really respected him, and of course, I voluntarily extended before stop loss, because I believed in the unit, and I'm not going to abandon the Marines just because my contract's up. So it's just not something you do.
You're former Secretary of Defense, but I'm still over there. Can you please tell me what it was like on the ground and the potential disconnect or dissonance between what you were hearing either in the press or from official mouthpieces and what you were actually experiencing in those 10 or 15, 20 days after sort of Baghdad fell, but the insurgency was just sort of getting going?
One of the interesting things about combat is just chaos and the accuracy of information. So if you remember the iconic scene of the big Saddam Hussein statue being pulled down, that happened less than a mile from our position. I didn't know anything about it. And so when I finally did call home, they asked, were you there? What are you talking about? So they mentioned in some of the BBC World News reports about the power vacuum. And for a while there, it was really the tribal elders that we were looking to try and stop the chaos. But at night, as soon as it got dark, there was just gunfire everywhere, and you didn't know who was shooting at who. So it was very difficult many times, and it was heartbreaking because bad things were happening to civilians that were being done to them by bad people, bad Iraqi people, and you kind of start asking yourself, well, did this happen under Saddam's regime because they were fearful? So now all of a sudden, there's no law. So immediately the people have no food, no water, and now no security. So it was very difficult, and there was only a handful of us, in trying to restore law and order. So.
Was most of the footage that we saw shot by you, and when you took that, did you have something like this movie in mind?
I absolutely did not have a movie in mind, or else I would have I would have shot it much differently. There was 4 of us who combined our footage. The majority of it is my footage, and a good amount of the rest of it is Captain Jamar Pataxel, who you heard him holding the camera a lot of the times, and then 2 other Marines that were with us, and then obviously some of the BBC stuff we got from outside sources, and you saw the list. But I did not have. I originally was going to write a book, and was really using the video camera as a way to document things that would be almost like pages in a book. Like, oh, I saw something interesting, turn the video camera on, take a shot of it, and then turn it off.
In fact, the movie is designed to be the book that he never wrote. So the handwriting you see up on the screen, it's his handwriting. That's why we did it by chapter. Because what was interesting is he kept, along with the video camera, he just had this journal and notes of this really interesting and amazing stuff, and that was the backbone we realized we could hang the narrative of the film on.
Now that with the weapons of mass destruction and all that, how does that feel now for you in terms of another administration, now people are going back into Afghanistan? What does that sort of feel to you now?
In 2004, I was extremely pissed off. And then I got over it. Spent a year being very angry, and then I just woke up one day and said, you know what? I gotta move on with my life, not dwell on it. That this is a chapter of my life. It happened. I did my job well over there. The guys around me did their jobs well, and I'm proud of what we did. So I just, it's either sink or swim, and you live your life here in the civilian world, not over there in the battlefield. And if you try and do that, you will end up destroying yourself, which is obviously not a good thing. You just gotta move on,
Another question about the actual filmmaking. Is very common to for the kids to have cameras and video cameras while engaged like work? Like, do you need kind of special clearance to have that with you?
No clearance to have it with us. There was no ban on any type of personal cameras or anything like that. Something that's interesting is that the Uniform Code of Military Justice, otherwise known as the UCMJ, is the code that governs military law, and they just never, technology kind of surpassed the law. So if you think about the first Gulf War, if you had a video camera, it'd be a large unit that would be impractical to carry with you. But they didn't really think about having these little mini consumer digital video cassette cameras with them. But there was tons of guys had cameras in other units, both handheld digital cameras for video and just regular still photo cameras. So there was no and if they told us not to do it, I wouldn't have taken it, right? I was an officer in the Marine Corps, and you follow orders. But there were several times throughout the film where the battalion commander in the one night battle scene where he's asking me, "What do you got? Your camera? Can you see anything?" One thing I would have wished that I had done was spend a little bit more money and brought a camera that had better night vision capability, because what I would have to do is take the video camera and then my night vision goggles and press it on top of it. It was just, then I was like at risk. Then I'm focusing on trying to get a shot instead of what's going on around me. That's why there's not too much night vision stuff in the film. So.
How did you guys meet each other? How did it turn into a film?
Well, I moved to Manhattan shortly after returning from the war, trying to figure out what the next phase of my life was going to be, and ended up moving very close to NYU. And Chris was a graduate of Tisch, and NYU's film school. So I was walking around. I kind of had known that was obviously one of the best film schools in the world. So I talked my way past the guards one day with a bag of videotapes, lying to them, told them I had an appointment with somebody. And I got so tired of showing all my friends and family like the cool parts, which were on 15 different digital video cassettes, that I was originally just looking for someone to edit it all down into one, just get it all in one DVD. And I was kind of making my pitch literally in the hallway of Tisch, where they were handing out like the headphones for like the student editing class or whatever. And this guy, we call him Young Andrew, and this guy with long hair, and he's like, "Hey, what do you got, man?" So I showed him, popped in one of the DVCs, saw one of the battle scenes, and he had just happened to be doing freelance work for Kristian. And they were just looking for something. Him and his cousin are both graduates of NYU. The next year, I ended up going to NYU, getting an MBA in finance from their full-time program. Beth Quigley, who was killed on September 11th, was in her first week at the part-time program at NYU getting her MBA. The girl who told me that Beth had been killed over email, because they switched it back on and let us, write some stuff before we went in, was also at NYU and in high school. So there's just this weird NYU connection that kind of, it's a common thread throughout the whole